Hello everyone, we're back in the room to talk more about video games. I'm Chris, joined by my brothers Adam and Eric.
Hello!
And in today... That sounded rehearsed. Team Rocket! That was fucking great. Hello! I hope you timed that every episode. Can we... Yeah,
Every sound the same.
Can we delete that? Do it again. I don't even know what the fuck we're here to talk about. Oh, yeah. We're here to talk about our favourite games from the year 2015. Continuing our discussion on our favourite games from the last decade. So something I want to bring up before we get into it is in our first ever episode. I can't remember which one of us said it. I think it was you, Adam. Said that as we go along, so some of the games that we talk about will be very obvious, and some of them will be head scratchers. But that's the whole thing about being subjective and having your own personal favorite game, right? And also I think it's worth mentioning that just because we name a game as our favorite game that year doesn't mean that we hated all other games. It just means that we preferred that one, and even if we have a top three,
or it resonated more.
Yeah, or if we have a top three, it doesn't mean that no other game was liked. You know, another game could have been number 4 or number 5 or whatever. So, this episode, I think, is going to be a head scratcher because there's a particular game that was a very obvious favorite across the board, and ours might not line up with that in the same way as it did with other years. So, like, Skyrim was a big obvious one, and The Last of Us was a big obvious one. And I would suspect that for this year, people suspect a certain obvious one. But anyway, with all that aside, let's get controversial. So, I'm going to go across the table. Adam.
Yeah.
Because I know you're conflicted already.
Yeah, because that was such a weird year. Like 2014, like there was, I would say okay games.
Oh.
There was not,
I thought there was quite a good list of games.
Yeah, they were, but it wasn't like, that's just such a standout game. For me, anyway. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because like there was a few games I was looking forward to, and they just didn't meet like my impossible expectations.
Well, you do have impossible expectations, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do think it's interesting that my most anticipated game of the year for that year wouldn't be in my top 3, wouldn't be in my top 4, wouldn't even be in my top 5 that year.
Which one was that?
And it was probably my most anticipated game. Like, there was a time when I saw the trailers and I was going, that's going to be the game of the decade.
Yeah.
Because it's one of my favorite series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we all know what that game is, right? Eric's like, no, I haven't a clue.
No, I haven't.
But actually, it did really well.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm referring to the Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, right, okay.
For me, did not meet the mark at all.
Yeah.
No.
Like, I actually preferred Mad Max, which came out the same day as that game.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I didn't play Mad Max, but 2 years
But at the same time...
Yeah, that's
like,
a class game.
It's an enjoyable game, but again, it wouldn't be like, oh yeah, it's the best fucking game. Like, I just had more fun playing that than I did with the Phantom Pain.
Right.
And I think that could probably be very controversial. I imagine a lot of people would say the opposite to that.
Yeah, they'd go, you're out of your fucking mind.
But it's purely just because I have certain expectations for a Metal Gear game, and it wasn't met.
No.
And it was just a constant disappointment for me the whole way through. There wasn't a single moment. Now, like,
the start of it's good. They've been in the hospital.
I played an awful lot of that game to try and force myself to like it.
Yeah,
and it was pain. Like, I think I didn't quite get. I think I cleared 80% of the game. I think that's my completion level on it, is 80%, which is it is a lot. I remember getting like a email from PlayStation, and it was like, your most played game this generation, and it was MGS5.
Wow.
Yeah. And
so
it was
really
like,
trying to like
I tried so hard to like that game, but yeah, it just wasn't it. But there was I suppose 2 games that really resonated with me was Until Dawn, which is very similar to, I suppose, like the Walking Dead or the Wolf Among Us or Heavy Rain. So we've kind of established that that's a type of game that we enjoy.
Yeah.
But the reason I enjoyed that game so much was because I was really expecting it to be shit.
I expected that to be so shit.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the footage that they showed off at one of the... Might have been an E3 or something.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And I just thought... I was like, I have no interest in this at all. And actually, I was the one who picked it up. I was then in Extravision, which was a store that was open back then. And
I was still open.
And I was walking around and I saw the cover of it, and I remember having seen the trailer, and I was kind of like, I just want to play something new that I don't have no idea what's going to happen or have no expectation. So I was like, I picked it up and I went up to the counter and I asked the guy, do you know if this is any good? And he said, it's actually really good. It's actually fucking deadly. He said, did you like Heavy Rain? And I said, yeah, I loved Heavy Rain. He was like, it's like Heavy Rain. So I suppose he was talking about gameplay, really.
Yeah,
right. What he was getting at. If he was trying to sell it to me, I suppose.
Yeah,
it's a job. Like,
okay, cool. I'll give it a go. So I bought it, and I'm so wrong about that game. I fucking loved that game.
Yeah, like I think like that's my I don't know what you would call that type of game.
Interactive story.
QTE maybe, quick time event style game.
Yeah, that's a fair description.
So the fact that the game is just built on that mechanic alone, I think it's actually my favorite in that type of genre, I guess.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. I Until Dawn is my favorite of that type of game.
It's actually my second favorite after
with Heavy Rain being
yeah.
Like I really love Heavy Rain.
Really close for me.
The thing is with Until Dawn is like Heavy Rain is brilliant the first time you play it, right? But
it is. Yeah.
I tell you what, like replaying that, holy shit! Like some of those sequences are just they just drag.
Yeah.
Until Dawn is still really fun when you replay it. Like the experience is never really that much different. Like unlike something like Heavy Rain where you're going to get a different experience every time. But it's just because I think they match so well together is the quick time event style or decision making with horror.
Especially slasher horror.
Yeah.
With a group of like
that's what I really loved about
college teens and
it was so aware of the type of game it is.
Yeah.
Like and it purposely kind of
had all the tropes and stuff. And
like it wasn't trying to hide the fact that it was supposed to be like a teen slasher film.
Yeah, not at all. But I actually, and one of the things I liked about it a lot was it's actually way more clever than it appears on the surface. So like you put it down as like a B-side movie thing and like well, this is a very simple premise and it's actually stupid, but actually they find really clever, like it's very tongue-in-cheek, they know what they're doing, but they found, like the writer found really clever ways of mashing up very different horror genres in the one game, but making it have one seamless story that's connected. And so it's in a Shining style setting to reference Kubrick's work, right? Then it's a slasher horror to reference, say, you know, the like Jason Voorhees movies or things like that. There's Saw sequences. There's like a monster movie element to it. There's all these different elements, but they are connected by one plot. And it's actually very cleverly written and really cleverly told.
Yeah, and it's like there is moments where you're like, it also utilizes the PlayStation's hardware really well. Yeah. So now just to clarify, it is a PS4 exclusive, and so it uses things like the motion controller, which always sounds really like gimmicky, but in this it's like if you're hiding from like a monster and it's like coming up behind you and stuff like that, your character needs to stay still, so you have to hold your controller still. Yes. So if you start to shake a little bit, then your character on screen shakes, and the music as well is kind of intensive, so it really like affects you as a player, and it gives you that little like almost like a indicator that you know whether your controller is kind of shaking or not. Yeah. And then it uses the PlayStation camera that it will like capture, like it knows when the jump scares are going to be, essentially. It does. Yeah. And then it'll start to record purely when those moments are coming up to capture your reaction. So then later on you can watch your gameplay back and you can see your reaction to it. Like things like that I think are really, really clever, because not many games really utilize the like exclusive games utilize the hardware that's directly like associated with the console, and that did a really really good job at like utilizing it in a way that's not a gimmick. Like it is fun.
I tell you, when the game had me, like when I was like, I really like this game. It was very early in, so at the start I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. It started and did a few things. There was 3 elements that got me really early on into the game. So the camera work is phenomenal in that game. Like it blew my mind. I kept going, wow, like to keep choosing these camera angles that make me feel like I'm being followed constantly. And I thought it was genius. And I've seen other games do it since. Like obviously a lot of games have utilized camera work in different ways. The early Silent Hill games do it a lot, but for some reason in this game it stood out to me like a lot. Number 2 then was the opening credits. As soon as that started with that song, the Old Death song that had been reorchestrated, and it was a very serious presentation, I was like, this is not a small game. They've taken this shit really seriously. Like this is being really well polished and really well presented. And then the third thing was straight after that, talking to, or it might have been just before it, actually talking to a psychiatrist for the first time, and he's talking to you, and he's getting you to like
answer the questions.
And like I remember the one with he's showing you these cards and just tell me which one bothers you more.
And
at first I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't like that. And then it kept coming up. So I kept, people know at this point I don't like spiders. And so the spider image kept coming up more and more. And I was like, oh fuck. I'd like realized where this was going. At that point. And then he was like, oh, so spiders and needles and knives or something like that. He was like, we're gonna have fun. And you're like, oh fuck, so what have I done? And suddenly you feel like the game has been tailored towards you. And I just thought it was really clever.
wish there was more to that though.
I know, because if you play a few times you realize how it's done.
It's not I think if you pick spiders, there's like one moment in the game where a spider kind of walks across the screen.
That's correct,
and it's not like,
no, it won't get you.
It won't.
But what did have me was because like the game is not the scariest thing ever, right? No. But I found, especially early on, the atmosphere had me very nervous. To open doors or to like, as soon as the game got kicking, I was like, okay, now I know what I'm all about and I can handle it. But very early on, before stuff had happened, the tension that it was building, it built it really well. So I did find myself going, I'm after picking those things. And I don't like the music, and I'm walking around in the dark, and I don't know what's going to happen. So even though when they did use them, they didn't scare me, the thought of it coming had me scared. So I think they did, their tension building was fantastic.
Like I think it was a really smart. Like that game, I think was supposed to come out on PS3.
Already?
I think, and it was initially supposed to be a game to show off the Move controllers. And the idea was that the Move controller would be your torch or something like that. And I remember them demonstrating it, and like the whole thing just did look shit. And I think that's why everyone thought this was going to be really, really bad. But they did such a U-turn. And they actually used what was going to be the Decima engine for that. It was using proprietary Sony hardware or software built by Guerrilla Games. So that's what gives it its real like high fidelity visuals. But it was just such a. I don't think anyone. There's not that many people really played it. I don't think it really got the attention it deserved.
No, I think it got underplayed.
But it's like it should be in everyone's catalog. I think if you like that type of like if you enjoy The Walking Dead, I think you should absolutely play this game.
Well, it's also, I think, one of the most fun games to play with friends. Which is weird, even though it's one player. We had a great game night, and I'll never forget it. There was a bunch of us, and what we did was we just picked each person and said, okay, you're going to be this character, you're going to be this character, you're going to be this character, right? So that any time the character changed, we'd swap the controller over. So then other people were making choices that we weren't, it was out of your control, and sometimes like your character might actually be relying on the choice that someone else is making. And like we found ourselves, because sometimes you have a time limit between the choices, and like we'd be turning to your friend and going, come on man, save me, and I can't man, I gotta save myself, fuck you, and you're just like and it was really fun. Like it was actually a really fun way to play it, especially because I had played it before, and one of the other guys had played it, but no one else had. So everyone else, it was their first time and they didn't know when anything was going to happen. They didn't know what was going on, and they were like, one of them was really trying to figure it out, like taking notes and stuff. Going, I think they're the killer, you know, or whatever. But yeah, it's a really fun game to play on your own and also with friends. What do you think of it, Eric?
I thought it was class. I thought the introduction of the whole because the whole thing is like a slasher. You know what I mean? Here's this guy on the mountain. He's gonna kill you. It's even like shown from the beat, like from the get go. I think the first character dies. You have this person who's coming at you, and it kind of ends up leading. So and then just the introduction of a monster. Was class, and then the whole.
And we won't say what the monster is because it's worth playing the game.
But apparently there's two different ways of pronouncing it. So the game says one way of pronouncing it, and then the show Supernatural
says it doesn't really matter.
I know, I'm just saying there's debate before. I'm just raising that point.
Well,
sorry.
The monster is in Supernatural at some point. But that's not a spoiler. Every monster is in Supernatural. But no, because like it is quite surprising that there's... Well, actually, I tell you, to be honest, because I watched the review for it as well before being anyway curious about picking it up. And one of the reviewers, because none of the trailers showed anything about a monster. Yeah. And the reviewer spoiled it on me. And I was really mad. Because, well, actually, it got me excited about it because I wasn't that interested in just a slasher. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, there's a monster. What's with the monster? What's that about? But I was also like, that would have been a really nice surprise. Yeah.
Well, I knew there was going to be some form of creature in it because the trailers, well, not trailers, I suppose the E3 showcases, they had the usual kind of slasher bit where the guy's chasing you.
That's right, yeah. That's the only bit I'd seen before.
But I did see another one where it was like this thing that's jumping around the trees and it's got the vision, almost like Predator style vision.
Oh,
and stuff
that
like
bit, right. I didn't realize that had been shown.
And I was like, what? So there's like two things happening in this, and it left you very like, I have absolutely no idea what's going on in this game. Yeah. And I originally thought it was going to be like an episodic thing where it was in each episode it's like a different kind of enemy. I didn't think it was going to be one story that's...
I'm glad it's not that.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I love how it ended up.
Yeah, it is really good. It's another one of those ones that just if you're interested in playing it, everyone can live and everyone can die, and it's all based on your choices how the story plays out. So it's really... What I can say
really though is that as you play, maybe I think it's actually kind of similar to The Walking Dead in that regard, is that as you play through it, like maybe a second or a third time, and you're trying to see what does it look like if this character survives, there isn't that much variety. The game does tend to play out exactly the same. There may be one or two scenes that are slightly different because there's a particular character that's still alive or something, but apart from that, like the ending generally ends up exactly the same.
It's really just for your own sense of achievement, I suppose, as to I got them all out. But to be honest, given that it is like based on horrors, it's more exciting if people die. Yeah, I think like if you watch a horror film and everyone gets out fine.
I think I ended up with like 2 survivors, and it was just perfect.
Yeah, like I ended up with Chris. And someone else, I can't remember who. And
I had Chris, Emily, maybe Ashley, and Sam, I think. I remember Emily surviving. I was very disappointed because she's a very horrible character in that game.
Yeah, she is. She is a nasty character, and I do like that they start all the characters off with like tropes and characteristics that are typical of a slasher. Yeah. But based on your choices, you can actually change them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You can alter how they play it. So like is Matt? He's supposed to be like the jock.
No, Mike is a jock. And he ended up being like my favorite character.
Yeah, he's badass. Yeah,
he's actually later on he becomes really cool and he's sort of a heroic character. Yeah. He reminded me a bit of it's just totally coincidental. He's not in any way based on anything, but just the way I played him, his story arc ended up a bit like Steve Harrington from Stranger Things. Yes. You know? He's a jerk, but later on you start to love him, and he will do what he has to do to help his mates out, so just stuff like that. Like the characters start off one way, however Emily is always consistently an asshole.
Yeah, for all thing. Because even when you take Chris and Ashley's characters, who were complete and utter cowards, they then find courage later, which was a great journey for them.
Yeah, they have some of the great, like they have some of the best bits actually.
Yeah,
I found in the game.
They have great moments.
Did ye find it scary?
Yeah, actually, there's a moment where you go into kind of a sanitarium, and all of that kind of had me on edge.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I never really jumped, I don't think, throughout the entire game, but that bit did have me on edge just walking through it and exploring it, because the ambient sounds are just
really. Yeah. Did you find it scary, Eric?
Oh yeah, I would find it quite nerve-wracking. I think I jumped definitely one point at the start when you're playing as Chris going through the house.
The thing that jumps out of the cupboard.
Yeah, that thing. That thing got me.
Yeah.
Some of it, I'll give him credit for. Like, if you play it a second time, none of the jumps will get you. But the first time, they do actually have the jumps timed quite well, especially for a game.
Yep.
Like the jumps are actually, and the sound effects are timed really well.
Yeah.
And you know they're coming sometimes, and you're like, oh fuck off, and you have to open the door, and you're like, I don't want to open the door, and you open it, and you go, oh it's fine, and then they get you, and you go, oh! And you're like, I knew you were gonna do it, you bastard.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like first time I played it, I like now I won't. But that's like, if you watch a horror movie for like this third time, the scares won't get you anymore. No. You know, but it's about your first experience.
But I think what's nice about that game is it's like a good horror movie where. Right, so you can watch a horror film and it can freak you out. I'll take Saw for example, right? If you don't like gore, whatever, right? Saw it mightn't be your thing, right? No. So it that may scare you. Yes. But you can then watch it a second time because the overall story and premise to it is actually really entertaining. So although the gore it might not be scary anymore because you kind of, you've become accustomed to it, maybe, I don't know, it's like you're just used to it.
Yeah.
The actual film itself is just so masterfully done that you can find enjoyment out of it, and I think this game is very similar. Like although the scares won't be scary anymore, it's just that the game is actually just really fun to play.
It is, yeah, it's really enjoyable. And there's on your second time you will, because the first time you kind of, every time you're in an environment you would just want to get out of there, you just want to push on through and get out. So you won't explore as much, but the second time, because you know what's going to happen, you can explore more, and you'll actually find more depth to the story. You'll find like there's little hidden things that like, even especially in the sanitarium, actually, if you explore, there's other rooms and there's other bits of paper and documents and things that will tell you a lot more
what's going on,
and the story is a lot richer than it first comes off. There's a little kind of, there's so many tropes, like, so the place used to be like this mining colony, and it's got that little story going on as well, but everything works as well. Like nothing feels like it's just shoehorned in. Like they found a way to gel all these strange horror genres together for one experience that just absolutely works. And then they have this theme of the butterfly effect, and they have like, so that's to just remind you that your choices will impact the story. But it is also connected to this Native American thing, and so the mountain was a Native American burial site, which is another classic horror trope. And it's just everything that they came up with, they found ways that the gameplay serves the story.
They absolutely can't do a sequel, and you can see by what they've been doing. Their latest game, for example,
Man of Medan,
is not a sequel to this, and
all, no.
I love that even Sony just weren't like, but like it kind of did kind of well, we could do a sequel and do better again and all that kind of stuff. I like that they just kind of left it alone. Yeah,
I mean, I would love that studio to make another game though, and I don't mean like, I would like another full, Man of Medan is a much smaller experience. I would like another full Until Dawn style thing, not a follow-up in any way.
Well, they do have,
even if I would be okay with another Until Dawn game, but totally different scenario, different storyline, different characters, in no way a follow-up to the last one. So
well, what they did do is they did kind of make a sequel, two nearly actually, but they're VR games. Yeah. So they have the Rush of Blood, which is supposed to be, there's a particular character in Until Dawn that's kind of suffering from psychosis, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So the game is supposed to be a representation of his mind. Yeah. And then they have another one called the Inpatient, and it's a VR experience.
That's supposed to be very scary.
And that's supposed to be based on when the sanitarium was actually functioning. And you're a patient. I did not know that at all. Yeah. So there are technically sequels to it, but it's not like a sequel. It's not Until Dawn 2. It's just
but I'm just saying I would be okay with it, because the whole premise of Until Dawn is you have to survive until dawn, right?
Yeah.
So as long as they make another game with a premise like that, You have a group of people and they must survive until dawn. Totally different scenario, different location, different place.
Different horror trope.
Yeah.
There's so many to choose from.
So not the same creature, not the same location, none of that. And not even a reference to. Yeah. But I would be cool with another experience because I think they could surprise again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that was a game I enjoyed that year.
Was it your favourite?
I don't know.
You don't really know?
I don't know.
It was my second favourite game that year actually.
Yeah. You see, I had two games that I'm just like Until Dawn, I think is technically a game that I prefer in most regards, like in terms of the visuals, the story, and just generally playing it.
Yeah.
But then there's another game I played that year that I just spent so much hours into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it's like it's hard to know which one's my favorite. This one that I kind of played once or twice and really enjoyed it, or this other game that I spent, I think I clocked like 180 hours into or something.
Most listeners would probably be able to answer that question for you, considering what you just said.
Go. The one that you played more.
Yeah.
What game was it?
So it was Destiny the Taken King. Now I know Destiny came out the year before that, but I just didn't.
Was this an expansion?
It was, yeah. It was the third. No, was it? Yeah, it was the third expansion. But you could say that it's the expansion that made the game what it is. Like I think that's where a lot of people got into Destiny, was with the Taken King, because what Destiny really lacked was a coherent story.
Yeah.
And the Taken King just went, okay, here's a story finally to that game that you bought last year. And it also improved the multiplayer aspect and just the challenges, and nearly everything in the game was it was almost like just, okay, let's refresh the game essentially.
Yeah.
And I do think that's what a lot of people that's when Destiny really took off, I think, with the Taken King.
Yeah, because I played that one as well, and it's great to have, because the main story, I did complete the main story first before going on to all the expansions, and the main story is just very short.
There's nothing to it.
Nothing to it. Nothing happens, and then once you start getting into the expansions, that's actually when the game gets good.
Yeah, but it was with the Taken King. I think with the other ones, the expansions always felt like, here's another enemy to take on, right? But the Taken King was genuinely okay, here is the nemesis. This is the actual, but this is the Sauron of the game. Who you're going to take on. It's not just small skirmishes anymore. It's this is a huge threat that's going to take on, destroy the galaxy.
Yeah.
And it had cutscenes as well. There was.
Yeah, there was very few cutscenes in the main game, but this one actually really.
Am I right? Nolan North ended up voicing the
robot, yeah.
The robot? But originally, wasn't it...
Yeah, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
Why was there a replacement, or what was that about?
People found Peter Dinklage's voice too...
I don't know why. There's theories as to why it was changed. I actually liked the Dinklebot.
Please don't call him Dinklebot.
Because how's your Dinklebot?
People didn't I think, yeah, you're right. People didn't really like the fact that he just sounded like he was just reading lines.
Well, look at Peter Dinklage is a very, very talented actor, but also he's a little bit one-dimensional.
Hey, you can't say that.
Why not?
Get that, man.
Why? Why can't I say that?
Nah, lad.
Can't he just be a bit one-dimensional, not a little bit one-dimensional?
I didn't think of that at all. No, fuck off. Trying to paint me bad on this. No, I do find that because outside of Game of Thrones, that voice and that delivery seem to follow him everywhere.
Yeah. No, I kind of understand the criticism, right? He is just literally reading lines.
Yes.
And I'd say he's just whatever, I don't care for this.
But and also it's a robot.
And that was my point. It's people saying there's no emotion to his lines. It's it's a fucking robot. I know, but I think
what people got so invested in, people still talk about it today as one of the best video game characters ever made. GLaDOS from Portal 2.
Yeah.
Who, is a robot and very much a robot, but does emotion ways.
Yeah.
So I think when people have a robot that's going to talk to them a lot, they start comparing to, versions in games where it's like it has been done so much better.
Yeah. Also, you have to think again, like R2D2 doesn't talk, but even his performance is enjoyable to listen to.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's almost emotion to his beeps, and they're just beeps.
Yeah, like it wasn't.
The thing is, R2D2 was actually great. Constantly cursing, and they're just censoring him. Peter Dinklage's performances as the Ghost wasn't great, but it's not like as if when they replaced it with Nolan North, it greatly improved it. Like the problems with Destiny wasn't the fact that the robot didn't have emotion.
No, I didn't.
The problem with Destiny was far beyond that, and I think the real reason they changed it to Nolan North was to save money.
Oh, okay.
Because they now need to spend money in.
Well, Nolan North, you should get paid more, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, you should. But I do think that there was probably a lot of money going into the fact that, like, oh yeah, this dude from Game of Thrones is now voiced in our game.
Well, do you think? And I'm not being too much of a negative critic or whatever, but do you think Peter Dinklage was only asked to do it because of the hype for Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah, I
absolutely,
think so.
yeah.
Okay. Like when you look at the cast of characters for this game, it's ridiculous. Like they have Bill Nye voiced in another character
who barely ever talks.
They had God, I'm so bad with names.
I'm gonna get up the cast now.
But like the names, the names are big for roles that are so small. Like you never come across these characters until, I mean, in terms of like
Peter Stormare is in it as well, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, he was having a good year that year. He was in Until Dawn.
Yeah. But it's not until The Taken King, when there's actual cutscenes, do you actually hear these performances.
Yeah.
So, I just feel like they were kind of utilizing big names for the sake. It's like, how do you market this?
Nathan Fillion is in it.
Yeah.
Lance Reddick is in it. Who plays Charon in John Wick. Gina Torres is in it. I can't actually name anything she's in, but I've definitely seen her stuff.
So shout out to all these guys.
Yeah.
It is a big cast of characters, but
if I had to push you,
for one,
if I had to push you for one,
I don't know
the rules of the game. Your favorite game from the year.
Gotta do it, man.
If you had to say one, and it could even only be by a tiny margin, tiny margin. They could be really, really close, but if you had to pick one to say, that is actually, if I had to say it, my favourite game that year, the one I enjoyed the most.
Okay, I think I would. Shit, this is hard, man. This is hard.
that's the rules of the game.
I think if someone was asking me which one should I play, I would say go play Until Dawn.
Okay.
But I think the game I had the most fun playing was To Take a King.
I'm still no clearer on what that, whether that means one or the other was your favorite, because it's not just about which one you had most fun playing, is it? Because you can have a lot of fun playing a game, but it might not be.
I think I'm gonna go with Taken King.
Destiny 2 to Taken King.
No, it's not Destiny 2. It's just Destiny.
Oh, sorry, it's just Destiny. Oh, yeah, it's just an expansion.
I'm looking at the cast of Destiny 2. There is so many more famous. Stephen Fry's in Destiny 2.
We'll get there, right? I don't need to know who's in these games.
I'm just saying.
So, anyway, Destiny to Taken King.
I think it's because, and I think when we were going through all our lists, I don't think we've mentioned a single multiplayer game.
No, that's actually probably the first one that's been.
And it's because I'm not into multiplayer games. Like I really just, it wasn't my thing.
So I had to have something to hook you.
And this is the first time I ever really got into not just a multiplayer game, but it's technically an MMORPG.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's.
He's right, you know.
What makes you want to progress is not the story. It's actually about getting better gear.
Get good.
Yeah, basically it's about getting good.
I fucking hate that phrase.
Get good
games. I just when you're reading a book, nobody comes over and says, "Get good, man, get good." Like, fuck off! It's my own entertainment.
No. You gotta get good.
I do hate when people criticize how good or bad you are at a game. I think that's really ignorant.
I know, but sometimes, Chris, you do need to get good at games.
No, it's.
Well, I think it depends. It depends. Are
you playing competitively? I suppose that's what it is. Are you playing
you can in Destiny.
Or are you playing for your own? No, I know you can, but that's what I'm saying. unless you're
Yeah,
playing
you're not going to do Until
competitively-
Dawn competitively.
Yeah, so unless you're playing competitively, it doesn't matter how you play a game. You know?
Correct.
No
But
one's
if
going
you were
to, you're not going to win
criticizing,
anything.
if you were criticizing the game because you're not good at it, that's different.
That is different, and I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're going, this game sucks because I'm shit. Like, there's no point in me saying the Dark Souls series suck because I'm not good at them. Like, that's a whole different thing.
A whole different kettle of fish.
Whereas
Dark Souls.
if someone's saying, Chris, you're playing games wrong because you're not good at them, it's like, that's not the case. Like, that's not how games work.
Look,
it's
I'm
a
sorry,
game.
Chris. You can't read the map. All right.
Oh, I'm not referring to you, but actually, Eric was my guide on Resident Evil 2 Remake because I cannot figure out that map at all. I just, every time I leave, I go, and he was saying, like, get back to the safe room. And which way is the safe room again? You were just there. I don't fucking know where to go.
Just get good.
Mr. X stresses me out. Anyway.
He's very stressful.
I think like
That's later on
I think I would say Destiny King because in a year that I found quite bland for games, like I wasn't really that like I would finish a game and then I'm done with it. That's it. I'm done. And I wasn't really that hooked on many games that year. Like Destiny is a game that you could just throw on, hop into. It doesn't even have to be a match. It could be just hop into the there's kind of like an open area and you can do missions in it to like up your gear or gain XP or whatever the case may be. Like the grinding in that game was actually quite enjoyable. It didn't feel repetitive. It felt like that was the objective, was to grind.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if a friend is online, then you can do stuff together. So mission wise, you could play you can do a mission with 2 other players. So 3 of you could be doing the same mission together. And then you can do technically like dungeons,
right,
sort of things, up to 6 players. So just being able to hop on and it doesn't matter, like you can't technically clear the game.
No,
there's
I suppose
always
not. There's always something to do in
it. What the hell?
Anyone hear that big truck going by? John, get out of Dodge! I would say there's a wedding passing us by. Would you say?
Probably.
Or a traffic jam.
Is there a match on?
Is there? Yeah, could be. Yeah.
A lot of horns are going off in the background if you can't hear it anyway.
Yes, the horns of Gondor.
Are those Air Raid Sirens?
Yeah. So then we're going to enter Silent Hill. Awesome. Eric.
Yeah, me. I'm here.
Your favorite game of 20... Jesus. I don't know. The thing is, we can hear these really loud horns in the background. I don't know if the mics are picking them up.
I don't know. But we'll keep the audience updated.
Hearing us going, ah! And you don't know why. Your favorite game of 2015?
I am first of all going to do an honorable mention of a game that was... Yeah.
Why?
Why not? It's just 2 seconds, man.
Go on,
it was just a game that was very, very much hated when it came out, and I thought it was a fantastic game, which was The Order 1886.
We are controversial this episode.
We are, right?
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Had fantastic graphics, didn't it?
Amazing graphics. Had the best graphics ever. I play it, still playing it, I'm like, that bottle looks real.
And a cool setting.
A very cool setting.
Yeah.
I'm all maybe getting a sequel.
And
one of the
hopefully getting a sequel.
Too short, was it? Is the sequel
it's
going
not
to be
that
1887?
It's actually not that short. It's a good, decent length game because we actually lived through an era of too many games being too long. So it was really nice and refreshing to play a game that actually just focused with the story and rather than going, big open world with nothing in it. Look,
so on that note,
150 notes.
On that note, what was your favorite game that year?
On that note, my favorite game of the year was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt because, you know, it had this big open world and lots of gameplay.
It's also another game that's game of the year for 200 years.
No. It just hold on. No. It just has 200 game of the year awards. There's
unlike The Last of Us, it's not the game of the year.
See, because The Last of Us is still inspiring games to be like it.
I think The Witcher 3 inspired games. No, I don't know.
Well, you see, because with Last of Us, I'm briefly going to talk about this now. Last of Us has Days Gone trying to be like it. God of War has elements trying to be like it. Plague Tale Innocence has trying to be like it. There's lots of games trying to be like The Last of Us, while I haven't seen a lot of games trying to be like The Witcher 3.
Well, this is the interesting one now, right? In that, at the start of the episode, I was talking about an obvious game, right?
Yeah.
And I would think people, if they're placing bets they would have said, well, it's going to be The Witcher 3 across the board on this one.
Right.
Because The Witcher 3, like I said, it got 200 Game of the Year awards. It's like loved and adored by so many people.
Mm-hmm.
The Cyberpunk 2077 coming out this year is literally the highest anticipated Game of the Year for most people in the world, purely because it's the guys who made The Witcher 3 and no other reason, which I still can't get my head around.
And Keanu Reeves in it.
And that's not why everyone's excited.
Keanu Reeves,
like,
man.
they're glad Keanu Reeves is in it, but they're not like, oh, that game's going to be unreal because Keanu Reeves is in it. Like,
But it just went up tenfold because Keanu Reeves.
So, what was it about The Witcher 3?
The main thing about The Witcher 3 that was really good was it was Game of Thrones, but good. It's a really dark, gritty world, filled with lots of fantasy creatures and magic, which was really great, and a whole new way of telling us how all this stuff came together. So there's like this thing called the conjunction of the spheres. If you ever watched the TV show,
they talk about it in that,
they do make a reference to it, where essentially everyone just kind of landed on this world. You know, so all the elves are from a different world, all the humans are from a different world, everything.
It's like the worlds melded together or something, wasn't it? Or like elements of the world.
It's more like there's this barren world and everyone landed on it, and now they're all trying to fight to survive and have their own claim on it. Okay. It's more so what it is. So vampires are a completely different race, and werewolves are like, I don't know, some affliction probably come from a different world. Everything is from a different world, which is why there's so many different things. Which was such a cool concept of how to have a world with so many different types of creatures. Yeah, and there is a lot of variation in creatures. A lot of variation in creatures. And then even the concept of, like, there's genetic manipulation in it. Yeah. So people somehow figured out how to genetically manipulate. That's the Witchers, right? The Witchers, yeah. The Witchers are super soldiers, pretty much. So it kind of creates this concept of, did humans maybe have, or did some race, are they technologically advanced on their own world, and when they came over, they didn't have that, but they knew how to do that. So for you, is it the lore? Are we on Infinity Blade again? You know? We're on Infinity Blade again, yeah. But is it the lore that made the game so enticing or so engrossing? Or? Yeah, that and the fact that I think when this came out, Game of Thrones was a big thing, so everyone was big into having a game they could play that was like... That was like Game of Thrones. Yeah, very gritty. There's no good guys. Well, I suppose, everyone is as a dark side. I suppose I never thought about this before, but in a way, like, Skyrim felt as close as we could get to a Middle Earth open world game, and so maybe The Witcher feels the closest you'd get to a Game of Thrones open world game. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, absolutely. Even though Game of Thrones wouldn't have as many monsters or creatures, but just the way that people treat each other and because there's one character in it. You'd meet him very early on, relatively early on. The tutorial does go on for a while. He's known as the Bloody Baron, and yes, I've heard a lot about this. And he's an absolute arsehole, but you somehow feel really sorry for him as well. The music around him is beautiful, and his story, like, he treats his wife like crap, but at the same time his wife treats him like crap and knows how to, like, verbally stab him that it triggers him. I think like really, I heard a lot that the kind of the side quests are nearly more interesting than the main story. Like Skyrim. And that's why, so when you do a side quest in most other games, it feels like a side quest. Like, yeah, it's just like a mundane task. Little diversion, right? Whereas in The Witcher, it turns out to be this, like, I don't know, like a really great story behind it. Yeah. So people end up really enjoying doing the side quests. I think that's why people are really, really excited about Cyberpunk. Yeah, probably because it's not just going to be another open world game. There's going to be so much depth to, like, all the different interactions you can do in the game. Yes, that level of quality is not in other games. Don't get me wrong. I think Cyberpunk looks really good, and it probably will be amazing. But the only reason I get so confused about the anticipation is because it's purely based on the faith in the developer, right? Yeah. As opposed to, like, just in a year where there are so many very big games coming out this year, I'm just surprised how that's being anticipated more than The Last of Us 2. That's the bit where I'm surprised. Or even there are other games that are coming out this year that look huge. So I'm just surprised how... I think you're like, I think we are kind of not a niche in our taste, but a lot of gamers don't like the single player, story driven, character driven games. No, maybe not. And maybe, like,
Like for me, right now we can hear horns that sound like clown cars in the background, and it just sounds like a whole bunch of them are gonna get out and fight us. No, we hate your games. I have started The Witcher 3 twice.
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah, so
I've cleared it 3 times.
all right, cool. So Jesus Christ, sorry, I get so distracted by these horns. It's like there's a load of cars outside really mad at each other. It sounds like a city, but like we're not in a city.
No, we're not.
I started it twice, and for me, like I did a couple of side quests as well. I know, yeah.
And the horns are going off all the time.
Maybe they're like, it's like the proud heralds of The Witcher, and they're just like, you're talking about the best game ever. So I enjoyed doing the little side quests quite a bit.
It honestly kind of more sounds like the cars are all just having sex with each other.
It's like that joke in Family Guy. What was it called? They had like some place that people would drive to.
Anal point?
Yeah, I wasn't going to say what it was called.
Alright, okay. That's the name.
This episode is very explicit. But yeah, no, sorry. I've started The Witcher twice.
Yeah.
And the thing I enjoyed the most was doing the little side quests. So maybe for people, like, it's really to jump in and just do something. You know, like, I would see, if I was playing The Witcher, it'd be more to, like, I'm going to throw it on now, do a hunt.
Yeah.
Because the hunts are really cool, and there's little
tracking stuff and everything.
The tracking stuff and picking up information as to what actually happened to this scenario. I found that stuff really cool. So I think that's the aspect maybe people like the most. I don't know. Because I've had a difficulty. I don't know why, because on paper, The Witcher 3 is exactly the kind of game I would like.
Yes.
Right?
Same,
on paper.
Yeah. Like, even objectively, like I can say The Witcher 3 is the best game that year. It's just not my favorite game that year.
Disagree.
Oh, would you? Okay.
I even objectively would not think that.
Like I do. So I think it has everything in it to be like a masterpiece of a game. Yeah. Well, and I don't think. Well, yeah, I don't know whether it's the game's fault or just my mood every time I try to get into the game. Because I've also tried to, like, I've started it twice.
Yeah, because I bought it there the other day.
And I cannot. You bought it? Was it free?
I don't know when it was free, and I think I missed it at some point. But the other day, because there was a big sale on, for €15, I got the Game of the Year edition with the
expansion passes and everything.
Stuff. So I was like, you know what, like
that's actually
this game is going to go down in history anyway. So I was like, I'm gonna buy it.
But yeah, every time I play it, the tutorial to get into it, and it's the same issue I have with Red Dead 2.
I said this to Eric the other day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really. It's like just trying to you can't just jump into this game.
Let me play the game.
You need to you need to take like a holiday or something, right? And just retire to The Witcher.
Yeah. Well, I felt personally, and I'm not bashing the game at all, because I am in the minority here, like, and I'm aware of that. This game was the most popular game that year, and for some people, there's some people online that it's their favorite game of all time. Like, it's really, really up there. But I just find that the game, its presentation at the beginning, loses me, because I don't like the UI.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't like Geralt as a character. I don't like his voice acting, and he's going to be talking the most in the game. And I don't like. I'm not crazy on the combat. I'm not crazy on the menu system. There's so much to it, and I really don't like the tutorial.
Well, the bit that loses me is the tutorial, and I
wish it started with the Hunt of the Griffin.
I can't. Yeah. I think it
started with that.
It definitely needs a better intro, I think. But the bit that I just can't, and like every time I play the game, like I just can't help but laugh, is his run. His running animation is hilarious.
His just natural little jog where his arms are stuck at his side. Like,
he just looks like he has skipped every leg day. Like, he just has these 2 pegs of a leg, or he was just like this huge torso,
or he was drawn by DC animation. Maybe.
Yeah. It's just such a.
I tell you what, like, it's I just can't get invested in Geralt and take it seriously, because the first time you see him, he's in a bucket of water with his legs out, and a lobster comes in and pinches his balls. And that's how the game starts.
Yeah.
No, actually, sorry. The game starts with a really cool opening cinematic.
Yeah.
Oh,
An awesome animation, and you're like,
Yeah.
I am fucking hooked. And then this is the next thing you see. And it's
Yeah.
Yennefer pinching his balls with a lobster. It's just like...
Some people love that shit though.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
it's
see,
almost
look,
like
I think...
it's almost like playing like Devil May Cry 3.
No, well...
Right? Like Devil May Cry 3
yeah.
also opens up and you're just like, I'm so into this. This is awesome. And then he starts fucking. He orders a pizza. And then
he's like eating a pizza and he turns on the jukebox with his pistol or something, and then I don't know.
That's where I'm like, okay, I am out.
Or you have Devil May Cry 5 when he reenacts the Michael Jackson dance with his hat.
Look, I've always enjoyed playing the Devil May Cry games, but I fucking hate Dante.
I really do too.
Dante
is such a shitty character.
I don't know why people love him. Dante is one of the worst video game protagonists ever.
Yeah.
And Nero is cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's still a punk ass kid, but like Dante is too old to behave the way he behaves. Have some responsibility. But anyway, sorry, back to
The Witcher.
the other white haired protagonist.
Who's much cooler than Dante.
Get out. Whoa!
Yeah. Don't knock over your mic there, man.
Sorry about that. It was the horns.
Calm yourself.
They got to me. But yeah, so I find it hard to get into The Witcher. But you obviously got into it.
I played it 3 times.
Quickly. Played it 3 times.
First ending I got was a horrible ending. It was very sad.
Does it get better and better as it goes?
Yes, it absolutely does. And the Wild Hunt are awesome villains.
Well, I think what makes the game like even appealing to me, even though I've never played it really.
You haven't.
So you know, say, man.
The fact that they supported it like for so long.
Well, yeah, there was
I think the studio has like gained like popularity, and I think again that's why people are really looking forward to.
Well, like they, in fairness to the developers, like because they brought out stuff for free and everything for it.
Yeah,
Like,
they could have charged so much money for a lot of that DLC.
They were just decent, and they gave a full game that was fully made and fully realized, and then expanded on it. As opposed to there's some games that they release and they plan the DLC before they release it.
Yeah.
Fucking
Destiny.
gut sucking bastards.
Yeah.
Stop being greedy fuckers.
The expansions were great because you had all the free DLC, like little costumes or extra weapons or just little extra hunts or something, which usually most game companies would just be like, spend €10 on that or 99 cents or something. It's like, come on, like that should be free. It's only a freaking shirt. Yeah, it's cosmetic like. Yeah, and then they give it to you for free, and then they only charge for the 2 expansions, which I think one was €10, the other one was €15, but they were big expansions, like.
Yeah, they were huge, weren't they?
Like the €15 one.
One's Heart and Stone. Am I correct in saying that?
Hearts of Stone, and then Blood and Wine. Blood and Wine was you went to essentially France.
Cool.
You went to France.
Like I think the scale of them was almost the equivalent of like Undead Nightmare in terms of their size.
Yeah, they're massive. Like they were really kind.
Look, I think it's undoubted. Like you can't deny that the game gives plenty of content to any gamer who wants lots to do.
And besides,
I mean lots to do.
I mean, the books were obviously really good because CD Projekt Red made the games out of it, and then when the games got so popular, we got the TV show. Which
that's true. Yeah.
I know yous are a bit like, nah, it's okay, but.
I feel really bad. I don't know whether it's just maybe I just can't get into the Witcher world, and I'm not hating on it. I'm not doing the whole I'm not trying to be like, oh well, everyone else likes it, so I don't, because typically I actually like the game that everyone else likes. So it's
But because of that, we also got like the best song of 2019.
Oh God!
Toss a coin
to your Witcher.
Exactly, best song ever. Let's get that stuck back in everyone's heads.
Yeah, we should play that as the outro to this episode.
Yeah.
Why don't you like it, Adam?
Yeah, come on, Adam. It's amazing.
Strong man. They came after me.
You're doing the Matt Heafy version, are you?
Yeah, actually, yeah. He does. His version's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's good.
It's okay. I think they do. Sorry, off topic now. I think Trivium have recorded a full cover of that, like a full band cover of it.
Oh, really?
And they're hoping, I don't know, there was some talk about maybe getting it onto a season 2.
Wow.
I don't know. There's some talk. That's why it hasn't been made public yet.
Oh.
but there's something going on. They're definitely hoping it ends up somewhere.
That will probably be the best thing about season 2.
Pitched it. Wow. Harsh.
Although another thing I realized when playing The Witcher 3 was because Yennefer's character, you mentioned her, she pinches your mans with the balls. Or the
she pinches your man with his balls. That's not what she does.
Anyway, so for the whole game, she seems like such an arsehole to Geralt.
Yeah.
All right, and I was like,
right?
yeah, you're looking
It's
for her. She's like the love of, well, actually trying to find Ciri is the main premise.
Okay, yeah.
Ciri is very important. But so you're like she's supposed to be like the love of Geralt's life, and you're like, why? She's kind of an arsehole to him.
Well,
for
I
the
think
whole
it's
thing.
that whole.
And then you watch the show, and you're like, that's a fair point. Geralt meets her for one night, and then makes a wish that they will never be separated. Never separated. For like the rest of their lives.
Never be in separation is what you meant to say, wasn't it?
I don't know what I was trying to say. But like he meets her for one night and goes, yeah,
and is that the plot?
Of what?
Of the series? Like in the games, is that the reason?
That
he's following her.
Yeah, kind of like they will always cross paths no matter what now.
Okay, but it is because he made that wish.
Yeah.
That's not just in the show.
No, they explain that in the show.
I know, but it just in the show is what I'm saying. No,
because the first book, which is a series of short stories, is called The Last Wish.
This back and forward is like, do you know that sketch about the Australian talking about the door falling off the boat?
yeah. Well, the boat fell off. Yeah. What fell off?
The door
front fell off. The front fell off.
Oh.
I was like, what's supposed to happen? Well, the front's not supposed to fall off, that's for sure. yeah. It's like that, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's the first book is called The Last Wish, which is based on Geralt's wish towards the gym.
Right, okay. So that is all part of the story.
That is all part of the story, yeah.
Had you heard of the Witcher series before this game?
Yes.
I hadn't.
Yeah, it was on Xbox.
Yeah, the second one.
1 and 2.
Hold on.
Oh, it was 1 on Xbox?
I know it was in retrospect,
so.
but had you heard of it, Eric? Had you heard of the Witcher series before Witcher 3?
Yeah, because I heard of Witcher 2.
Had you heard of it?
Yeah.
I know. See, I'd never heard of the series. Because like when it came out, and obviously everyone was talking about The Witcher 3, and it was the biggest game of that year.
I remember us looking at it on E3. Like we both saw the Hunting the Griffin being demonstrated at E3.
All right.
From Witcher 3. And I was like, I remember saying there, it's like you have to check out The Witcher 3. Like it's huge. It's so different than the second one.
Right.
Yeah.
You see,
we were pretty aware of the second.
Yeah, because I remember it was everywhere and everyone was talking about it, and I was like, what happened to 1 and 2? I just missed them, obviously. I'd never heard of them. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, man, Witcher 2 was unreal.
Well,
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't even know how they play. I don't know what they're like. I've never heard of them.
I would say that.
Don't even know if it's the same voice actor.
I know it's the same voice actor for all
same,
the.
yeah.
I think it's Yennefer and Ciri are only in 3, Witcher 3.
Oh, so it's always like building up to them.
Yeah, it's because the first one starts after the books, and it's Geralt has amnesia, so he actually has no idea about Yennefer at all.
All right.
Or
like
Ciri,
recovering your memories.
Yeah, so the whole thing is it slowly builds up and everything.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd say the difference between if you're like what Witcher 3 is to the other two in terms of the jump is like the way God of War 4 is to the other God of Wars.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's a huge leap.
Because I know you you've played it 3 times, but you do talk about The Witcher a lot as well, and you do love the game, Eric.
Would you go and play 1 and 2?
What?
Would you go and play 1 and 2?
Yeah, I'd play 1 and 2, yeah. I'd say 1 is very, very, very clunky in its gameplay. I'd say Witcher 1 is like Mass Effect 1 almost.
Have you played them?
No, I've seen some of 1 and I've seen some of 2.
I thought you were saying that you played them and that this is your quick review of them.
No, but like I said, which one is like Mass Effect 1, where only the hardcore fans have played that and loved that. And then Witcher 2 is when everyone else kind of jumped on, and then Witcher 3 is obviously the finale of it, where everyone.
And they're not going to make another Witcher game?
Well, see, depending on when the first ending I got, Geralt died. So.
Oh right, okay.
Wow.
So it can turn out that way.
Yeah. First ending was quite relatively actually sad. The everything was actually really horrible. I think only the Isles of Skellige, I think, were the only happy ending I had. Other than that, everyone else got fucked over.
Wow.
Yeah. Second ending was actually quite.
You see, that's your kind of thing too, where everything goes to shit, and you're like, wow, this was
great. I love misery.
My friend of misery.
Yeah.
Cool. Would it be one of your favorite games, period?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Why not?
Okay,
Throw
and
it
then
in
I'm
there.
going to ask this question because for me, these two are the two big fantasies of the last decade.
Don't do
So
this
I'm
question.
going to ask
Don't
you
do
this
this
question just purely out of curiosity. And there's obviously, look, it's subjective. There's no right, wrong answer. Do you prefer The Witcher or Skyrim?
That's a good question, Chris.
I'm not gonna lie. you
God,
said
did you,
first episode. That's a burning question. I'm not gonna lie.
Would you like to phone a friend?
Yeah.
Can
Phone
I?
Adam
To
there,
be
he'll
honest,
tell you.
actually,
I
on
will
the
tell you.
basis of okay, which one's my favorite? I'd probably say Witcher 3 because see, I've only cleared Skyrim once, and every time I go back to play it,
You give up on it.
yeah, I kind of do, and then I go back to it, and then I kind of give up again. But Witcher 3, I'd
Get good.
play.
Yeah, get good, man.
I'm classed.
Kill
Like
those
that.
dragon priests.
Man, I've built a house in it. Have you? I started to build my second
suppose,
house.
Yeah, Adam, get good. Cool.
Living
No,
too many
because
lives.
I am curious across the board which one people prefer, and I think it will depend because their playing styles are different. But yeah, I'd just be interested across the board to see if people prefer The Witcher 3 or if they prefer Skyrim.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm going to play The Witcher 3 at some point. And
Well,
I
I'm after
know-
getting it. I have the intention, and I've done the Griffin hunt and everything. I have the I've been
Yeah.
playing other games, so they've been getting in the way too.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on at the moment.
Yeah, I absolutely
games.
know it's never going to actually happen.
But no, I actually have an intention of getting of playing The Witcher 3
Yeah.
and see. That's the thing. I can't really make so me saying it's not my favorite. Someday it could be because maybe I'd finish it and maybe I'll go. Actually, that was unbelievable. And that's the other thing. Like other games might not make our list because we actually didn't play them.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't have a favorite game that's everyone else's favorite if you've never played it.
Yeah.
That's-
Another thing I like about The Witcher actually is that while it's called The Witcher and you're following Geralt the whole time, he's not really the main character.
All right.
Well, he is the main character, but he's not the central integral thing. He's not really important. He's just a Witcher in this world,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
and essentially nearly anyone else is actually more important and actually serves a bigger role to the shaping of the world.
What about that hunter at the start with the wild dogs? Is he more important?
Oh, he's super important.
He actually is really important because of him. He had like an affair with like royalty or something.
Yeah, with a prince or something.
And then the prince like killed himself, and he got kicked out, and the town went to ruin and everything. And
Yeah, there you go.
quick little There's lots of little stories, I suppose. In
I
there
think
that
the Witcher, like once you get like really into it,
I suppose I'd say when you get hooked, you're hooked.
yeah. But I do think the tutorial system is what it prevents me from actually getting into it.
Yeah,
And
I would have to give.
I think a game like that for me makes or breaks a game is if
Yeah,
can you just jump
It's the
straight into it?
onboarding, right?
Yeah.
That we've talked about before, and
It's
The Witcher
really, really
3, regardless of whether technically that game is the best game you've ever played or not, that tutorial is really bad.
Yes.
The onboarding for that game is really bad. Full stop. But
Case
yeah,
closed.
no, I'm gonna continue, and I'm gonna see how I feel about it when I get further into it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be an easy one for me to throw on to say I'm gonna do a hunt,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know if I could actually
If you can
sit
remember
down
the fucking
and
controls.
play hours and
Yeah.
hours of the story. I don't know if I'm that invested.
Like I seen a
Sounds
thing
good.
on some guy on Reddit made. He was like, when I'm president of video games, I think is what he said.
All right.
I'm going to enforce that there's a mode or a setting in every single game for busy adults.
Good idea.
So that when you come back to a game and the game recognizes you haven't played it for a while, it's like, would you like a refresher on how to control the game?
I think that's fair because
that'd be great.
I have had games where I've gone away from for a while,
Yeah.
and then I try to jump back in, and you just can't.
No.
You need to play a game and be stuck to that game and then move on. Like you can't play multiple games.
It's one of the nice things about games like Until Dawn, I suppose, is that you can kind of go away from, come back, and the controls are so easy.
Yeah,
So
because
can
they'll
kinda
tell you
play-
every time you need to push something.
Yeah, it tells you the rules.
Press X.
They'll remind you right there and then. Okay,
That was that one.
so
On to you now.
let's get. This is what I meant by let's get controversial.
Okay.
Totally subjective. My favorite game of 2015. It doesn't matter how many ways I look at it or think about it or look at any other game. Batman Arkham Knight. You knew it was coming, folks.
Shit.
I know, yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Arkham franchise. I'm not totally blind to its problems. Arkham Knight as a game has many problems. One of it was its biggest selling point. Which I actually think they focused on the wrong thing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I think they focused totally on the wrong thing. So I'm going to talk about the negatives first, and then I'm going to go into the positives. Because I'm going to explain why it's my favourite.
I would love for you to convince me that this is actually a good game. Right?
Like Arkham Origins?
Because I hated this game.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing.
This is the one where I'm just just avoid playing this one.
Of
the Arkham series, I would say avoid playing this one.
This is why it's so interesting, because for me, even today, Arkham Knight is one of those games that I can just throw on.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't just mean throw on. I love restarting that game.
Okay.
I fucking love playing through it, even though there are bits in it that I dread.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I'm going to get the negatives out of the way first.
Sure.
The Batmobile.
Class, man.
Which was the thing. Now, hold on. There's things about the Batmobile that are class, right? First of all, it's designed very well.
I mean, you can get around easier. That's nice.
I think it drives well.
Yeah.
And when you're driving it, which is all people wanted to do when people said we want to play as the Batmobile, right? So they're driving it, and like the pursuit missions, there's bits where you like pursue vans and stuff, and you can like shoot their wheels and knock them over and all that. Those bits are fantastic. They're really good. I actually really enjoy doing those missions. The tank battles,
they're just the worst.
I don't know what they were thinking, especially because they went, let's try and repeat the actual combat gameplay of Batman with the Batmobile. So I was like, okay, so there's bits where Batman has to counter people, so we should have that the Batmobile has to counter tanks.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. Like, they let you know when they're going to hit you, and you have to do like a quick dodge and attack, right?
Yeah.
And then they have other bits like Batman does these stealth takedowns on people, so let's have the Batmobile has to do stealth takedowns on tanks. Like, those segments make no sense at all. No. And then the fact that, and this is a real shame, Arkham Knight of the series has the worst boss fights, because the Arkham franchise had really good boss fights.
Yeah.
I thought their boss fights were like right up there with Metal Gear Solid boss fights.
Yeah.
Really, really good, and always like based on the character you're fighting. So, you know, your fight with Killer Croc is so different to your fight with Scarecrow, for example, or your fight with Mr. Freeze. Like, they're tailored to Batman's strengths and the villain's strengths.
Yeah.
And in this game, every boss has a tank, and you just fight them with your Batmobile. And there's even like there's a fight with Deathstroke.
Oh
yeah,
like
there. So Deathstroke comes in, and you're like, cool, I'm up for a rematch of Deathstroke. Let's do it. Let's have like a martial arts, like no holding anything back, him against me. He comes out with a tank, and you're like, that is the least Deathstroke thing that's ever been done.
Yeah.
Right? You can see there are negatives. There's a lot of negatives.
I remember doing that bit, and I was like, that's bullshit. But hopefully, when I destroy this tank, he gets out, and we'll have
a hand-to-hand combat. Yeah.
So I destroy the tank.
Yes. Yeah.
The hatch opens. Deathstroke comes out. I'm like, grand, here we go. Cutscene. Batman hits Deathstroke, and he's out. And I'm like,
this is the greatest assassin in the DC universe.
Yeah.
He wouldn't use a tank.
No, he wouldn't need to.
He just wouldn't do it. Okay, so those segments with the Batmobile, using it for combat and using it for stealth segments and boss fights, are the bits I don't like about the game.
Yes. It's a huge chunk of the game, though.
It is a large chunk of the game. Other than that, however, I think the game is phenomenal. And I mean phenomenal. But that is, of course, just my opinion. Okay. I think the presentation of the game, the graphics of the game, I think I was blown away by the lack of loading screen and the transitions between gameplay and cutscenes. I was blown away by that. Everything was so seamless. The game is so polished that it just blew my fucking mind. Honestly, and it did those like Evil Within style transitions that we talked about before, and those are the moments that make me like, I just love the game. So you'd be in a room, you gotta open the door won't open, you turn around, the room has changed.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then you go to look at something, you turn around, the room's changed again, and they keep doing these segments. So I'm going to talk about the thing that makes me love the game the most. Right. That makes me absolutely love the game the most, and it makes it one of my favorite Batman stories. right? And it's not the main situation of the game.
Yeah.
It's actually how they utilize the Joker.
Yeah. That's really, really
how
good.
They utilize... because they just... Right, everyone was like, the Joker's not dead, right? Everyone was like, well, either Joker's not dead...
Yeah.
Or Joker's going to show up in a hallucination, right? Because they've announced Scarecrow as the villain.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, right?
And you got John Noble, and that was a great voice.
And yeah, John Noble as Scarecrow was unbelievable. Yeah. It was a bit weird because it's totally not the Scarecrow from the first game, so that is jarring. Yeah. But he's a very powerful presence.
Yeah.
And every time he comes up on the screen and says something about how you're going to lose everything you've ever loved, and
beautiful.
It is really good.
Yeah. Worker of secrets. You know what I mean? He's back. It's great.
Stop talking about Infinity Blade. But so everyone knew Joker was going to come back in some way. And the first thing you do in the game is cremate the Joker. Yeah. To this theme, like the opening of the game is so good. So you burn the Joker, and I remember there was a friend of mine. Joker's like his favorite character. He was playing it, and he was like, "What do I do?" And then he pushed the button and started playing it. No. Oh, I don't wanna. Which is a weird thing to say. Joker's like the villain. Joker's
evil. He's a horrible person.
But he was like, I don't want. No, don't make me do it. Oh, I don't want to. You have to hold it and you have to burn the Joker, right? You have to cremate his body. That's like them defining, no, he's definitely dead. Like, we have killed the Joker after Arkham City. He is gone. And so I firmly believed he was dead even before it came out, and I was like, it's going to be hallucination, but they're going to build up to it. It's going to be late in the game, and it's going to finally happen, and everyone's going to be, yes, I was waiting for this moment. It happens way earlier, and it sticks with you for the rest of the game. Yep. So Batman is hallucinating for the entire game, and Joker is your running commentary for the game. And if I could liken it to anything, it's like Batman is entering Inferno. He's going into like hell. He's Dante, and Joker is his Virgil. And
everything to do with the Joker in it is great.
It's my favorite Mark Hamill Joker performance. And it's my favorite Kevin Conroy Batman.
Because even the flashback kind of sequences that like calls back to other like comics and stuff are really, really good.
Yeah, really well done.
It's just a pity that that's not the game. Like that should be the game, and it's just not. Like, you could take that section out and just make it a singular
Batmobile experience.
Well, it's an experience like kind of like Arkham Vr.
Yeah.
Like, Arkham VR is an amazing game.
Arkham VR is really good. Yeah.
But like, that's all they needed to do, because they're really good at telling that story, like the story and interaction between the characters. They're really good at that.
But I'm always really surprised about how they find segments of like, so the trilogy is actually connected strangely by the Titan storyline, right? Yes. In that the first game, Titan was this thing that Joker created, and he was making super mutants, and he was going to send it into the city. Yeah. In the second game, Joker has been affected by Titan, and his blood has become poisonous, and he's dying, and that becomes part of the plot. Right, and it creates a really excellent dilemma in that Batman is trying to cure the Joker, essentially. I know he's been kind of pushed into it, but it's a very interesting Batman story. And then I did not expect them to follow up on. So Joker had sent his blood to like people in the hospital in Gotham in Arkham City, and it's a quick line that you could nearly miss. I did not expect them at all to follow up on that in Arkham Knight. And in Arkham Knight, you have these individuals, including Batman, who have Joker's Titan-infected blood in them, and it's actually affecting their personality, and they're slowly transforming into the Joker. Yeah. And and Batman has them locked up in this quarantine, and Batman is behaving really uncharacteristically, and he's becoming more and more dangerous every day because he has it too. Which is why when the gas is in him, he sees Joker for the rest of the game, because his fear now, his ultimate fear, is becoming the Joker. Yeah. And I just think it's beautifully told. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it really does feel like, you know, when you have a movie, it feels like, okay, if I'm to liken Arkham Knight to a film, it's Quantum of Solace, right? Quantum of Solace has elements in it that are really good, and they like call back to other Bond movies in really clever ways. Yes, but because it has like two different directors. Right, there's a clash of style. Yeah. And the execution is a messy product.
Well, I think one of the things that this game was missing that the other two games had was Paul Dini as a writer.
Well, you see, I don't think the writing is the problem. I think it's written well.
I think in some cases it is because the Joker plotline is phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's written really well. The plotline that's not written well is the Scarecrow Arkham Knight thing.
Yeah, but I don't think that really matters because that's just kind of like it's another threat.
In a way, that's not the real plot, is it?
Yeah, I don't think that matters.
Really what the game's about.
What really I think affects the game is one, making the area bigger, which is always like a problem with how do you do a follow up, and it's like, well, in the last one we made the play area bigger, so this time we have to make the play area even bigger. Kind of thing. And it's like that's not what made the other Batman games fun.
Right,
this big location. When you have a big location, how do you get around in it? Well, now we can finally bring in the thing that people were wanting, which is the Batmobile. It's like grand. But now that we have the Batmobile, we have to justify it being in there. So they add all this like combat like with the tank. And that's like ultimately that's my biggest problem with the Batmobile. They went with the tank mobile
rather than just
a car. Gives us a car. Just a car. It doesn't need to be anything other than just
I agree with
drive
that.
around.
I agree with that.
Because you had in Arkham Asylum, you only had the car version.
Yeah, like relying too heavily off of, and I think it was trying too hard to visually even and stylistically be like the Christopher Nolan trilogy. And the thing is with the Christopher Nolan trilogy is that although they're incredible films, they're not like quintessentially Batman, right? They're his kind of take on Batman, but that doesn't mean that
designs are not.
Yeah, doesn't mean every version of Batman now has to be that version.
Yeah,
because there's kind of things about his Batman that just don't really match, like the comics and the cartoons.
Yeah,
it just serves his story really, really well. But it just always seems like, oh, that one did well, so therefore everything. Like even Telltale's Batman tries to be a little bit more like Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, it
Batman.
does. Yeah, that's true.
And Arkham Origins, we already talked about that as well. Like he's trying to be like
more
even
tank-like. Like Bane was changed up in that game to be more like Tom Hardy's performance Bane rather than the Bane from the Arkham games.
It definitely lost the style that the Arkham games had in 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and I just think it needed to be a little bit more cartoony, more so than trying to be this gritty, realistic.
Well, but the thing is, I like Arkham Knight is really dark.
It is, yeah,
and I enjoyed.
But Asylum was also dark.
No, but this is darker. This is the darkest chapter in the Arkham series. Yeah, and I think
that you can achieve that without having to have it needing to be grounded. You know, when I say grounded, what I mean by that is like, okay, why can't he just have the material based bat suit that he had in the other two, right? Yeah. It could be, they're worn out and he needs armor. Okay, give us a reason other than just stylistically you think it looks cool. The Batmobile, like, why can't it be the cool car from the animated series, fucking elongated, cool looking Batmobile? Like, why does it have to be a tank? I just think they're trying to do the Christopher Nolan thing, which is, well, realistically, if he was in this world, he would use this stuff because, like, that's how you would get by in this world. Yeah. Whereas instead of going down like the comic book road, I think that's what they need to do. I thought Scarecrow was totally fine.
Scarecrow was cool. I do think though, like I'm saying, is personally my favorite game from that year. But I would rewrite it. And there's times where I go, I just wish that, like, I wish Arkham Knight was the main villain. Because what really annoyed me is I wish that he brought them together, but that Scarecrow, his plan is to use Scarecrow's gas, so that's still Scarecrow still plays a big role in it. Yeah. But it doesn't. I just don't see Scarecrow as a leader of a military force.
No, it's really weird.
It's a really weird combination. And then it was funny it's funny that a lot of people
called it from the beginning.
I mean, look, everyone knew who Arkham Knight was, right?
Yeah.
But what's funny to me was, maybe I'm the minority, I wasn't disappointed that he was who he was. I was hoping for it. Okay. I was hoping he was him because I wanted that story. I love that story. It's one of my favorite Batman stories. So I was like, if he's not him, I hope it's a better plot, right? Yeah. But I wasn't like, oh well, I know who it is, so that ruins it for me. I was like, please be him.
The reason it ruined it for me, like, was just because, well, why hide it behind this other thing?
Yeah, no, and
like I think having the title Arkham Knight
Yeah.
kind of almost pigeonholed them into a very specific kind of story that they could have had much more creative freedom if they just dropped the Arkham subtitle. Just drop it.
They had to.
It's called
done
Batman.
it earlier.
You know, like
Yeah.
and then Batman whatever. Like
Yeah.
you know, it could be I don't know, something to do with the last chapter in terms of its subtitle.
The Last Night.
Yeah, like or even Nightfall.
There's a comic book. Even if they wanted to keep the Arkham thing, there is a comic book storyline called The Last Arkham. That's actually the name of it.
Oh yeah, that could
And if
work.
they had called that, it would signify it's the last game of the series,
Yep.
but also reference a comic book story where, and the only reason the story was called that, there's a guy called Jeremiah Arkham,
Oh yeah.
and it's just that he's the last of the Arkham family. He
Yeah.
could have easily been a character in the game. He could have easily been someone.
Yeah.
But even if not, that title would have worked well.
One thing
as
that disappointed me actually.
But I was
in
happy with
Arkham
Arkham
Knight
Knight.
was the whole thing. I'm like, all right, we're definitely going to Arkham Asylum at the end.
I
Right?
know, yeah.
We did it, didn't we?
You do,
but it's not
but
quite like.
it's just because it's not quite Shadow Moses and Metal Gear
Oh,
Solid
okay.
4.
I know, yeah. I wanted that
Oh,
moment of
yeah.
going around the
Cool.
asylum and having these little memories flash up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
It was cool that so they have like at the end of the game, Scarecrow is driving like a van and Batman's in the back of it, so it's and driving him to the asylum.
Yep.
So it's supposed to mirror, and actually they do the van comes around the corner like the Batmobile did in Arkham Asylum. They have
Yeah.
the moon up in the sky. They have the same music plays.
Yeah,
Goes through the gate, so it mirrors how the first game started, which was Batman bringing Joker to the asylum.
Yeah.
And now you have Scarecrow is a psychiatrist. You have a psychiatrist bringing Batman to the asylum, and it's mirrored really well. And then there's this strange segment in Arkham Asylum that you do play, but it's really strange, and yet for me it worked, but it is weird, where it goes into this like Doom
first person
hallucination.
thing?
It goes into this first person thing, and it's this internal struggle happening inside Batman's mind.
Yeah, I really loved that aspect.
And it was really, it's unexpected, but it's really, for me it worked. It was really weird.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's
It was
good,
really
good,
weird.
good moment.
Like I actually think that game would have been a way better game and a phenomenal game. I would use your word, Chris. Phenomenal.
Thanks, man. I think it's phenomenal.
If it just didn't have the Batmobile, like take that thing out of it, that mechanic just didn't work. Everything about it was uninspired. It ruined the Riddler challenges.
Well, you see, right, okay, on the Riddler challenges, yes, right, so the racetracks are weird. It's a weird choice to do. It's like you're driving through a Rubik's Cube. And I think that's supposed to be the idea, but they shouldn't have called them racetracks, and they shouldn't have had like a racetrack like thing laid out and like rounds go beep, 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 and you go, like, they should have actually had like, you have these puzzles to drive through if they wanted to call it that. I don't know. But there's other Riddler puzzles in it that I loved, which was ones where you're working with Catwoman to get these keys to like release a bomb that's wrapped around her neck. And those ones you actually had to, like, you were in rooms and you had to actually solve puzzles.
Those were kind of fun.
I thought those were great. So yeah, the thing is, in a similar way to Arkham Origins, this is where I find myself again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of amazing stuff in the game.
Yeah.
And then there's this huge gameplay distractor.
Yeah, well, I would prefer the
That
gameplay
takes
to
away.
Origins now.
I wouldn't.
Because the Batmobile's not in it.
Because I'll tell you why. Like, there was a lot of bits where I had to get across the city, and I just glided, and I just used my thing. I didn't even bother with the Batmobile. I just decided. Now the annoying thing is, yes, there's segments then where it makes you. It's like, oh, you need the Batmobile actually, and you go, fuck off.
Yeah, I think that's what's annoying about it. Is like I wouldn't like I said.
If it was a choice, you wouldn't mind it.
If it was just the car just to get around, that's totally fine.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's the fact that it says, okay, now you have to. It's almost like in like the Order 1886, right?
Oh yeah, when
Like
there's
one of the problems with that game
Yeah.
is that they introduce you to a weapon that you have to use in this segment. Let's say it's a sniper rifle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you're done, they take that away from you and give you back your normal gun and continue with the game. And you're like, okay, so I didn't actually unlock that thing. Like, give me
Right.
the choice. Like, you construct the gameplay so that it gives me the opportunity to use these new equipment if I want to. Don't force me to have to use it.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And like, again, I'm not in any way defending the Batmobile. I do think that they made all the wrong choices with it. But there's just a lot of the stuff in the game. And the thing that I would have used as the selling point more, and they're awesome segments in the game, is the working with your allies. There's these bits where you're with either Robin or Nightwing, and then sometimes with Catwoman, and you could switch between the characters, and you could play as the other characters while taking on loads of people and do these joint combos.
Yeah.
And I thought those bits were done so well that I was like, why are they not showing these off in the demos? Because they surprised me. Those bits actually, like,
they're
because they happen a few times. It's not like a one-off moment, and they're done really, really well. And then the other thing was there was a lot of nice little surprises that I wasn't expecting. One of them took the form of a flying creature called Man-Bat.
What a moment!
And it's just a random building that you like. This is what I'm talking. Like their transitions were so seamless that so it didn't load up a cutscene. You grapple to a building because you're grappling anyway, right? Your objective is in that direction, so they know you're going to do it. So you grapple to a building, and as soon as you latch onto the building, Man-Bat jumps out at you, scares the shit out of you, and then flies off and starts that mission, right? And then later on in the game, if you grapple onto a building, Joker does the same thing to you to scare the shit out of you. He makes fun of you. And then there's another surprising addition of a villain. And I was so glad they did it because I love those quirky, weird Batman villains. Professor Pig.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so messed up. He's messed up.
I do think, though, they kind of did play all their cards with the first two, that they just... And I'd say, actually, fucking, like... The guys who made Arkham Origins probably took a bunch that they were hoping to maybe include as well.
Maybe they did, yeah.
Like Executioner absolutely needed to be in the last one. But
what?
But they just had like very little villains kind of left to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have reused a few.
They did. And actually, and I will say again, this is one of those
Firefly.
games where the expansion makes it better because there's 3 other little side missions that are actually really good.
I really enjoyed that one.
Maybe there's 4 actually.
There's
Croc,
Ra's al Ghul, Mr. Freeze, and I don't think
Mad Hatter.
Mad Hatter, that's it. Yeah.
Mad Hatter's one is really good.
Yeah.
It's another like
Freeze.
David Fincher style crime thing. Freeze is something to do with his wife.
It's Freeze is actually more on your side in this one, which was quite nice. It was quite nice to not be against him.
Fight him, yeah.
They were really good as well. So I think any version that you would get of the game now comes with the whole package, and it's an even better game. There's a lot more to do.
It's definitely, it feels more complete with them. It's kind of annoying that they were omitted from the game.
It does, yeah.
That's
what I was talking about earlier on. I think they were planned, and they said let's leave them out as DLCs.
I'd say they were planned, and it wasn't like we leave it like consciously we could kind of make more money out of it. Right. I say they spent so much time and resources trying to get that fucking car to work that they had to push other projects out. They were so determined to get the Batmobile into it.
And it's really not. It wasn't. The car is not the thing that makes the game, for me anyway, enjoyable.
I don't think anyone enjoys that Batmobile. Like I think the only nice thing about it is at any point you can summon it, and it's really
cool to jump into it.
That's done really, really well.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Like, one thing that's annoying is because obviously you can have all the different costumes from the different comics or films or whatnot.
Yeah.
One of the most annoying things is that you can change the look of the Batmobile to be, let's say, Tim Burton's one, or the one from Tim Burton's Batmobile, or Christopher Nolan's, or even Zack Snyder's, and then all the mechanics don't work.
Yeah, you can't actually do the Batmobile.
No, you can't.
So there's
do anything.
No point in doing it. Yeah.
It's like that's fucking.
But wouldn't it have been so cool if the Batmobile just drove? So that you could give it whatever skin you wanted, and it wouldn't change it, and all you do is drive around it,
and
you
still do the chases. You can still do the chases.
Oh yeah, the car chases work. They absolutely work. I think they work really well.
They would have worked with anything, and then obviously,
especially when you shoot a van and it tips over, and then the driver walks out, and sometimes you have to walk over and interrogate the driver.
Yeah,
like those bits work really well. Yeah, pursuing criminals with the Batmobile. It's just the tank and stealth bits.
Yeah,
they do not work.
And the acrobatic climbing parts as well, where you have to sometimes climb up a wall with the grappling hook down.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's because they saw Batman Forever.
You know what? In the fucking if they do another one, they'll probably add the function that the fucking Batmobile will glide.
And then you don't ever detective mode.
You don't ever have to get out of the tank. You can just grapple with the thing, climb up a villain, and then glide to your next location.
I still think they're doing Superman next.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I don't know how they'll ever achieve it.
No, they're definitely doing Batman.
So I think they announced
WB Montreal are doing another Batman game. Rocksteady have been hiring loads of people, and they're working on something else.
I think Superman will make an appearance.
Montreal, I think, are doing something about the Court of Owls. It has been.
Yeah, that's Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Montreal are doing it. The guys who made Arkham Origins. But Rocksteady keep hiring all these crew and everything, and they're working on something else. And I think it has been leaked that it is another WB property.
Right.
But they haven't
Harry Potter
said what
Flash.
it is. You know,
Harry Potter's Warner Bros, isn't it?
It's not fucking Harry Potter.
Could you imagine?
Well, could be.
But yeah, no, and look, it still has like the combat segments. I think were done really well. And they had like environmental takedowns and stuff.
Yeah,
and all,
yeah,
still all that stuff is still there, and I really enjoyed all of that.
The most important thing in the game is still really, really good in it. The cape.
Oh, the cape's
is
class.
great in the rain.
The cape is phenomenal.
But yeah, so those are our our picks for 2015. So we had Eric had The Witcher 3, Adam had Destiny the Taken King.
Sure, we'll go with that one.
Why not? And I had Batman Arkham Knight. And then we'll give the honourable mentions to The Order 1886 and Until Dawn.
Yeah.
Definitely Until Dawn.
Until Dawn in a big way, I think, as well. But The Order 1886 is another one like Until Dawn that was possibly underplayed, and maybe people should give it a go.
It wasn't really that. Well, it was hated.
All right.
Like so much.
A lot of people bought it on launch and everything. Some people bought PS4, I think, for it, and then they were like, "What? This is not what we thought it was."
All right.
Yeah.
Now, a friend of ours who has been listening to a lot of the podcasts, and has given great feedback, but had kind of suggested that we name some of the other games that came out in a year, because we'd like people to message in to say what their favorite game was, but like nobody knows what came out, so unless they Google it and go through the list like we did. But we're only doing it because we research before we do our episodes. I'm just gonna. So other than the ones we named, some of the other games that came out that year were some of the big ones: Bloodborne, MGS5: The Phantom Pain, Fallout 4, Super Mario World, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Oh, actually,
what about it?
On that as well, Tomb Raider. Michael Howland,
Yeah.
who's been listening to the podcast too, also giving great feedback.
Yeah.
He told me a really interesting fact that I didn't know, maybe you guys knew, about the first Tomb Raider. He thought...
Like PS1 or the 2013 one?
The 2013 one.
All right.
He thought we'd like to hear it.
Right, cool.
I certainly enjoyed listening to it. And it was they invented a musical instrument.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
For the first game.
Yeah.
So for the first game, they invented a musical instrument, and with that, made it like all the sounds.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
You should check it out. It's
there's a whole thing on it, and there's bells on it for any of the bells in the tombs or anything. But also that main theme that's played multiple times is on this makeshift instrument. And the reason they made it was because they thought, wouldn't it be cool if we put something together that's like made out of wreckage of stuff, and it's like the islanders made it on the island.
Well, thank you very much for that information, Michael
He
Howland.
did-
I didn't
he
know
did-
that.
He also did the soundtrack to the Order 1886.
Which does have
I
a very
think
good
he
soundtrack
did.
as well.
I think he did Dead Space as
He
well.
does loads.
Yeah.
Dead
but,
Space is good.
Jason Graves, I think is his name.
That's right. But I just thought that was really interesting piece of information, especially if you're really into like the music of games and stuff.
Yeah.
And Howland, being a musician, would know that kind of stuff. You know?
Yeah. And that's why so you mentioned the Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
That's one of the things where I thought that game really dropped like in quality was
the
that
music?
they just went with just traditional kind of like it's not the same composer for that one.
All right.
They kind of went, we'll just take the main tune.
I think you
and
can
we'll
feel
just...
that.
Yeah, it really lacks passion. I think that second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But shout out to Howland for that piece of
Yeah.
information. And
Thank you very
check out his band 12 Gauge Outrage. You can check them out on Spotify. They're great. If you like heavy metal, they're great. Other games that came out that year are Battlefront, Halo 5, Life is Strange, Rocket League. A lot of people played that. Mortal Kombat 10, Black Ops 3, and Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So those are some of the big ones. I'm not going to name out every game that came out, but those are some of the big ones. So one of those you might be like, oh no, that was my favorite game actually, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I like played most of them.
Yeah, I played
You
most
did,
of
yeah.
them.
I did not play most of them. I
Brilliant.
played the truth. I played bits of a lot of them, but not enough to say, I played that game.
I think a
and
lot
can
of
make
the
a
games
definitive
and
statement on it.
the 2015 and I think similarly to 2014 as well, that the reason it's kind of difficult for us to kind of pinpoint like, oh yeah, this is absolutely a masterpiece, except for maybe the Witcher 3.
The Witcher 3 masterpiece, amazing.
But,
Geralt
like,
is amazing. I don't know what you're talking about, Chris.
You know, there's obviously flaws to Batman. I would say there was flaws to Destiny, absolutely.
Yeah.
Until Dawn, I think maybe not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
But
No, gameplay wise, it's probably not.
I think most of the games that came out that year kind of were either a little bit niche or improved over time. Like something like Rocket League definitely got better as the years went on.
Yeah.
I think Bloodborne was loved kind of from the get-go, though, wasn't it?
I'd say so.
But I think that's pretty niche as well. Like, I think the people who loved it absolutely loved it. And
the people who don't really don't.
Yeah.
But Bloodborne was well liked. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Like
got lots
really
of
popular.
awards, very popular.
it definitely sold consoles. Like, that was a console seller that year.
Well, Bloodborne was probably up there in terms of like people would have been placing bets whether that or The Witcher was the game of the year.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah,
And I'd say the Phantom Pain because despite what we think, the Phantom Pain was really well received.
Yeah,
across the board.
Gameplay wise, like the physics of the Phantom Pain's gameplay and the creativity you can do with the gameplay of that.
Man, we ain't even got enough time to jump
that's
into
fair.
the
Okay,
Phantom Pain.
sorry.
If we start the Phantom Pain, man, I'm going to go on for the next 3 hours. No, I'm only joking. So that concludes our favourite games of 2015. Please do get in touch to let us know your own and give out to us for not all liking The Witcher and say, Eric, you're absolutely right. You're 100% correct. And Infinity Blade is the best game ever made as well. And join us next time where we'll talk about our favourite games from 2016. Bye! You guys didn't say goodbye.
I was afraid to because I thought he would, and then
do
do it at the same time and I can start. We'll do it now.
Well, okay, sorry. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.